Hello, science enthusiast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am here with the weekly science and technology updates. 41 important news items from 1st August to 8th August that are extremely useful for UPSC, BPSC, UPPCS, State PCS, SSC, SBI, IBPS, NDA, CDS, ACIO, and other different types of competitive exams. Apart from current updates, my channel also has many English grammar series like words often confused, clauses, subject verb, agreement, one word substitution, idioms, adverbs, infinitive, conjunction, and many more. So, the upcoming grammar videos are words often confused part 3, clauses part 3, and subject verb agreement part 1. For NEET and AIMS student, many detailed biology series is already available. Tomorrow I will be uploading GI Tract Part 2. There is also a biotechnology series for both NEET and UPSC civil services aspirants. The next topic will be RNA interference and its application in agriculture. And for current affairs lovers, current affairs part 3, continuing the 200 new series, new news will be uploaded within 2 days. So make sure you don't miss it. After watching this video, if you found this video is useful, beneficial, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support definitely boosts my morale and helps me bring you more valuable content regularly. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you get notified about my upcoming videos. GI tract part 2, gastrointestinal tract part 2 for NEET students, word often confused part 3, subject verb agreement part 1, clauses part 2 for different types of competitive examination for English, RNA interference in biotechnology, and many more. Let's get started. First news is about Project Simone. The International Space Station has recently integrated ISS has recently integrated advanced artificial intelligence robots to assist to help astronauts during their extended missions. So there is a use to assist astronauts during extended mission, and it was given by International Space Station. They have integrated advanced artificial intelligence robots to help astronauts during extended missions. So, key among this is Simone. It is an artificial intelligence powered companion which is designed to help crew workload to ease crew workload and improve operational efficiency. So, Simone is short for Creo Interactive Mobile Companion. It is an artificial intelligence assistant which is developed by Airbus, IBM, and the German Space Agency. So, it is developed by the collaboration of Airbus, IBM company, and the German Space Agency. It was launched to the International Space Station in 2018. The voice controlled robot which floats freely inside the station, and it will provide hands-free support to astronauts during extended mission. So it acts as a database, computer, and mobile camera, helping it provides help to scientific experiments and maintenance work. So it will gives a new era of human machine collaboration in space. So Simon helps astronaut by displaying a step-by-step instruction and video tutorials in their field of view. So it also help in reducing errors during completing tasks, during complex tasks. So it also provides voice commands which allow crew members to access information without using their hands. So these robots also records experiment through its mobile camera, enabling real-time monitoring or later review by ground team. So it is about the Project Simon. So, Astrobi robots and their roles. What are their roles? So, Astrobi team includes three cube-shaped robots, and the name of that three cube-shaped robots are Bumble, Honey, Queen. What are the name of that three cube-shaped robots? Bumble, Honey, Queen. So, it is funded by NASA's game-changing development programs, and these three cube-shaped robots perform autonomous or remote control tasks. So it help inventory management and environmental monitoring about the ISSs. So Astrobes complements Simon by handling routine operational duties, freeing astronauts for more critical work. So these robots help to free astronauts for many crucial critical work. So there are impact on astronaut well-being and missions efficiency. So beyond technical support, Simon aims to reduce astronaut difficulties, astronaut stress, which is linked to isolation and group dynamics. So these astronauts also, what are the impact on astronaut well-being? So it also serve as a social companion to improve astronaut mental health during long extended mission. So by automating routine tasks and helping in learning, artificial intelligence plays very important role in helping astronauts manage time better and focus on scientific objectives, to give positive scientific adjectives. So what are the future prospect for artificial intelligence, which we NASA is decided, or ISS is in decided to use in space exploration. So data from Simon and Astrobi developments will guide future artificial intelligence integration in space and earth-based field such as education, healthcare, and industrial automation. So they will guide future artificial integration in space and also in earth-based fields like education, healthcare, and industrial automation. So as mission, its mission is to the moon, is Mars, and beyond become more demanding. Artificial intelligence companies will be crucial, critical, important for mission success and also creo safety. Next news about Asthamudi land conservation. Asthamudi wetland conservation. It is a news from Kerala High Court. Asthamudi wetland conservation. So Kerala High Court has recently given mandated urgent step for the protection of Asthamudi wetland. So it follows a public interest litigation which is denoting severe pollution, encroachments, and ecological environmental degradation of the Astamudi wetland. So the Kerala High Court directed the state government and the State Wetland Authority Kerala to establish a dedicated management unit and prepare an integrated conservation plan with strict timelines. What are the background of Astamudi wetland? Astamudi Lake, which is Kerala's second largest wetland, is a Ramsar site recognized since 2002 for its ecological importance. Despite this, Astamudi wetland has suffered from unchecked waste dumping, unwanted waste dumping, encroachments, and enhancement on increase in pollution, severe pollution. A 2020 and 2000 between 2020 and 22 sanitation survey revealed open defecation. Many people are doing open defecation and direct discharge of untreated sewage in this area. So it is causing health hazard, health problem, and different types of water diseases because of open defecation and direct discharge of untreated sewage. So, Kerala Legislative Assembly's Committee on Environment reported drastic shrinkage of wetland area and loss of mangroves and fish breeding habitats in Astamudi wetlands. So, there is a drastic, very harmful unwanted, unexpected loss of mangroves and fish breeding habitats because of drastic shrinkage of wetland area. The National Green Tribunal imposed a rupees 10 crore penalty on the state in 2023 for fall because of failing to protect the wetland. About Kerala High Court's legal directives, the court ordered the constitution of Astamudi Wetland Management Unit within 2 months of notification. This unit includes stakeholders and experts to ensure coordinated, supported, positive efforts. A comprehensive and scientific management plan must be finalized, and it should be finalized. It must be finalized within 6 months. So the court emphasized that these steps align with the Ramsar it aligned with the Ramsar Convention guideline for wetland of international importance. So the Kerala High Courts ordered the constitution of Astamudi Wetland Management Unit within 2 months of notification. So the court emphasized these steps align with Ramsar Convention guidelines. What are the key issues affecting Astamudi wetland? So, pollution from human waste, hospital and commercial effluents. Effluent means whatever the waste is coming from hospital and commercial and companies and industries. Industries, plastic waste, tourism-related garbage is rampant, is increasing, is here and there. So, in because of this, these issues and this malmanagement is affecting Astamudi wetland. So encroachments and sand mining in because of encroachment also and sand mining also reduce the wetlands area. It reduces the west and wetlands area also from 61 square kilometer to it becomes now 34 square kilometer. So depth has also fallen below half a meter in many spaces, and it is affecting mangrove forest and fish habitats are gradually disappearing, are gradually becoming less in numbers, threatening local fish folk livelihoods also. So these are the issues affecting Astamudi wetlands. In turns, it is affecting and degrading the ecosystem because of unregulated housing and more use of pesticides. So what are the role of wetland management units? So it must develop a site specific management plan and a standard operating procedures. So it will specify meeting venues, frequency of meeting, coordination of meeting mechanism among stakeholders. So transparency is important, and the unit must maintain a dedicated website or web page with a public feedback system. There must be a website, dedicated website or web page where the public should will be able to give their feedback. So digital platforms will enable citizens to upload audio visual evidence and share concern, which helps in encouraging community participation also. Next news is about Prime Minister Ekta Malls. The Union government has approved the establishment of Prime Minister Ekta Malls in 27 states under the One District, One Product initiative. So what is the initiative of Prime Minister Ekta Mall? Initiative is One District, One Product initiative. One District, One Product initiative. So it and this Prime Minister Ekta Malls aim to promote indigenous product, means homemade products, geographical indication, GI tagged items and local handicrafts. It will be produced through the dedicated retail spaces. So nearly 4,796 crore was sanctioned for these projects from Pradhan Mantri in the fiscal year 2023-24. So this scheme is part of a special assistance to states for capital investment framework and was announced in the Union Budget 2023-24. What are the objectives of Prime Minister Ekta Malls? Prime Minister Ekta Malls provide permanent retail platform for artisan and producers, and it showcases ODOP products, means one district, one product, and geographical indication, GI tagged goods items. So it definitely enhances visibility for traditional and regional items in prime urban location. So it supports local entrepreneurship and self-reliance by connecting producer directly. So it helps in connecting producer directly connect with consumers. So in turns it improve the self-reliance. So implementation and funding, state submit detailed project reports from mall construction. It is executed under the Ministry of Finance. Approval and funds are granted on a first come first serve basis. So total budget of rupees 5,000 crore was allocated. State must provide land free or cover acquisition cost. There is a state-wise allocation and location. UP received the highest allocation. Uttar Pradesh received the highest allocation of rupees 370 0.25 crore for three malls, and the name of the three malls are present in Agra, Lucknow, and Varanasi. So UP get the receive the highest allocation of rupees 370.25 crore. MP follows with rupees 284 crore for Ujjain. Assam was received rupees 226 crore for Guwahati. Tamil Nadu and Bihar also received rupees 223 crore and 212 crore respectively for Chennai and Patna malls. Gujarat and Telangana each got rupees 202 crore, 202 crore. Maharashtra secured 195 crore for Navi Mumbai. Malls are preferably located in state capitals. The most important things, the malls must be located in state capitals or financial and tourism hubs for better visibility, for better operation. States yet to commence projects. These states are West Bengal, Delhi, Jammu and Kashmir, Chandigarh, Ladakh, Andaman, Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep, Puducherry have not yet started work or secured central approval. So they did not get central approval. So these regions are expected to join the scheme later to promote their local products. Now, what are the impact on local economy in artisan? Mall aims to boost sale of ODOP and GI products. They provide access to weavers, directly access to weavers, artisan, and small producers. So, this initiative supports India's goal of promoting local crafts and entrepreneurship. So, it also helped in strengthening the cultural identity of district through product promotion. So these are the positive benefits. Now, next news is about artificial intelligence powered agromet advisory. So the International Crop Research Institute from Semi-Arid Tropics, ICRISAT, International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics, and Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. So there is a collaboration between ICRISAT and ICAR, and they have launched an innovative artificial intelligence powered climate advisory service. So this service provides personalized real-time weather and climate prior information to holder farmers. So it plays a very important role that farmers will get prior information about the real time weather and climate. So it also help them adapt to increasing climate changes, climate variability, and it's definitely improve agricultural productivity. So this initiative is supported by Government of India's Monsoon Mission Third. So what is the mission is Government of India's Monsoon Mission Third, and it integrates advanced technology, artificial intelligence with local agricultural needs, which in turns gives positive impact to smallhold farmers. So about artificial intelligence powered agromate advisory, it uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to generate context specific insights, context specific information. So it helps, it provides hyper local weather forecast and crop related recommendation. It also provides, not only provides about the real time weather and climate information, it also provides crop related recommendation. So it consider, this system consider factors such as a different types of crops, soil condition, location, and socio-economic status of farmers. So which is a very important point to know, to consider socio-economic status of farmers. What are the status of farmers? So this approach helps farmer make timely decision about when to sow, when to irrigate, when to give fertilizer, and when to harvest. So these are about the positive impact of artificial intelligence powered agromate advisory. There is a use of technology and data integrations. The advisory service combine real-time data from IMD. IMD is India Meteorological Department and satellite observation. So these advisory service collaborate with combines real-time data from IMD and satellite observation, and AI and ML model analyze this data to predict weather patterns, to predict different types of weather patterns and their what are their impacts on all crops or different types of crops. So these system update continuously to reflect changing climate condition. When that climate is changing, so it will gives always this system updates continuously. So this dynamic modeling improves accuracy and relevance of advisory. So it is very beneficial for small stake farmers. About delivery channels, and artificial intelligence powered WhatsApp bot communities in regional languages are also available. Other channels include interactive voice response system, mobile application, village resource centers. These are also available to improve this, to integrate with AI and ML models. This multi-channel approach bridges the digital divide, especially in remote rural farming communities. So it is a very big step to provide and to bridge the gap, and make the digital device, especially in rural farming communities, remote farming communities. So it is a pilot phase, and this project is initially piloted in Maharashtra. It is initially piloted in Maharashtra through ICAR's agrometeorological field units, and it focuses on reaching over 120 million small and marginal farmers. So main target is approximately 120 million small and marginal farmers. So lesson learned will inform a nation rollout across India. It also aims for South-South cooperation, which will definitely extend benefits to other semi-arid region globally, where there is a less amount of water. So what are the significance of this channel? The AI powered advisory services addresses the different types of climate risk by reducing uncertainty in farming decision. It also supports sustainable agricultural practices, and definitely it improve productivity. So by delivering timely and relevant information about weather patterns, it strengthens farmers resilience to extreme weather events. So this initiative represents a major important step towards integrating digital technologies with traditional farmings, and which will definitely improve the and boost the farmers' morale and increase in the agriculture crop production. Next news is about India's first AI-powered Anganwadi center. It is about the Maharashtra. So Maharashtra government inaugurated the nation's first artificial intelligence-powered Anganwadi center in Badambana village, Nagpur district. So this pilot project work under Mission Bal Bharti. What is it project work under Mission Bal Bharti. So it introduces advanced use of digital tools to early childhood education in rural India. Anganwadi, what does it mean? It means to get the education, to provide the education, early childhood education in village area, in rural India. So India's first artificial intelligence powered Anganwadi center started in the Maharashtra, and which is inaugurated the nation first artificial intelligence powered Anganwadi centered in Vadambana village, Nagpur district, and it main aims to digitalize early childhood education in rural village India. So it aims to bridge the rural urban education, which is divided by offering immersive and technology driven learning experiences to underprivileged children. So it provides different types of learning methodology, different types of learning technologies to under. It provides beneficial different types of education privilege to the underprivileged children, to rural children which are underprivileged. So about Anganwadi centers, which are grassroots childcare and preschool units. Anganwadi centers specifically serves for children's age 0 to between 0 to 6 years, which is especially located in rural and underprivileged areas, and this center focus on these 0 to 6 year children healthcare, nutrition and early better education. So it plays important role in holistic child development across India's village landscape, rural landscape. So when there is introduction of artificial intelligence and VR technologies, so the Vandamana Anganwadi integrates artificial intelligence dashboards, and VR is a virtual reality headset. VR is virtually reality headset. So they integrated this technology in Vandamana village in Nagpur district. So this tool create interactive and immersive learning environments. The student will interact with this technology because it is virtual reality. They have reality headsets. So children engage with the, poems, songs. They acquire the knowledge of different types of poems and songs with virtual reality headsets, and it helped in building the foundational curriculum through artificial intelligence guided content. So in turn, the students get routine lesson into very joyful and effective learning experiences. So training Anganwadi for this, this technology, we have to train the Anganwadi workers also. So Anganwadi workers receive extensive, elaborate training to operate, how to operate this artificial intelligence enabled smart system. So this ensures smooth classroom management and maximize learning outcomes. The student will more engage in learning, and the learning outcomes would be more. So it deliver adaptive, high quality education which is tailored to each child specific needs, and in turns it helps in child's holistic development. So it bridges the digital divide in rural education. So this promotes equity in early childhood education, and it helps in nurturing curiosity, arising curiosity and confidence among village 0 to 6 years childhood children. So these are about the expansion plans. Maharashtra plan to establish 40 more artificial intelligence powered Anganwadi centers across Nagpur district. So they are thinking to extend these plans to 40 more artificial intelligence Anganwadi centers across Nagpur districts, and it aims to provide inclusive technology driven education for rural children. What are the significance? There are many significance because the students will enjoy the class. They will learn different types of things with the help of technology, with the help of virtual things. So by combining technology with traditional Anganwadi services, the center enhances early learning and developments. It definitely encourages creativity, students participation, and it definitely provides joyful learnings. So this model promises a transformative shift in how India supports its youngest learners, small children, and especially in marginalized communities, in rural communities. underprivileged communities. Next news is about frog. Darwin's frog. So recent efforts in Chile focus on saving the endangered Darwin's frog. So this tiny amphibian, as you know about the frog, is an amphibian which lives terrestrial and which live on aquatic also. So the tiny amphibian is known for its unique reproductive behavior, and it has distinctive leaf-like skin. Its skin is looking like a skin. So this Chilean government has launched a campaign to protect its habitats and increase its population. So it is a recent efforts, and the efforts are going given by Chilean governments. So it involves collaboration with private landowners, and it main aims to expand the frogs living areas, to increase the frogs living areas. So because the species faces different type of threats because of changing climate, forest fires, also invasive species, and urban because of urbanization. So they are taken the they are taken the initiative to expand the frogs living areas. About Darwin's frog, it belonged to the family, and the name of the family is Rhinodermatidae. What is the name of the family of Darwin's frog? Is Rhinodermatidae. It includes two species, Rhinoderma darwini, which is called southern Darwin's frog, and Rhinoderma ruiforme, northern Darwin's frog. One is Darwini and ruiforme, two species. The southern species is endangered, it is going to be extinct, while the northern one is critically endangered and nearly extinct. So the Chilean government has launched this campaign because they are endangered and nearly going to be vanished, nearly extinct. So the frog and the size of the frog is about 3 centimeter and was first discovered by Charles Darwin. So all of you know about the Charles Darwin in Kyle's Keolo Islands in 1834. What are the unique characteristic reproductive behaviors? It is notable for its brooding method. It is upside down spawning behavior is rare among amphibians. It is the species is diurnal, means it appears in daytime and uses stillness and is a defense mechanism, playing dead when threatened. Habitat and distribution, it is found in southern Chile and Argentina. These species prefers areas with a mixture, when there is a mixture of grassland, also moss, woody debris, young trees and bushes within mature native forest. So this species found in these areas, and these environments provide shelter and feeding grounds to these Darwin frogs. There is a habitat fragmentation because of the human activity, and which has reduced suitable living areas for Darwin frogs. So this species is threatened to survival because of the drastic climate change, drastic rainfall patterns. So another reason is also forest fires and urban expansion. So these are the reason are threats to the survival of Darwin's frog. Invasive species disrupt the ecosystem balance and compete for resources. Other invasive species also destroying the ecosystem balance and compete for resources, different type of food resources. So it also compete with Darwin frogs. So it caused a sharp, because of this problem, these threats, Darwin frogs caused a sharp decline in population numbers. So a conservation initiative must be taken to protect Darwin's frog. So it includes habitat preservation, population monitoring, and public awareness campaign must be included. So it started collaboration with private landowners, which aims to safeguard breeding sites, to improve breeding sites. When breeding will increase, the extinction will reduce. So the goal is to discover new population and expand existing habitats. So these are importance of conservation because Darwin frog is a living fossil. The point should be noted. It is a living fossil which symbolizes unique evolutionary qualities, characteristic traits, and its survival reflect the health of native forest ecosystem. So protecting this species is very crucial to preserve biodiversity and maintain ecological balance. So awareness system must be included, and it will be needed to improve our national pride and improve environmental responsibility among citizens. Next news about pollution status of Gujarat rivers. Pollution status, day by day it is degrading. So recent data from Union government which reveals that 13 stretches of river, 13, 1, 3, 13, 13 stretches of river in Gujarat are officially classified as polluted. The Sabarmati River stretch, which is stretch between Raishan and Vahuta, is most contaminated, most polluted. So this assessment is based on biological oxygen demand. Biological oxygen demand is a key measure of checking the organic pollution in water. Where the BOD is more, it means the pollution is more. So the number of polluted river stretches has reduced from 20 in 2018 to it becomes now to 13 in 2022. So showing the progress in pollution and increasing in numbers. So about biological oxygen demand, it helps in measuring the oxygen consumed by microorganism to decompose organic matter in water. When there is a more microorganism, water is more polluted, so more oxygen is needed to decompose it, to degrade it. So it indicates about there is a more biological oxygen demand, when there is a more need of oxygen, so there is a more population. So more organic, higher BOD indicates more waste is there, more polluted waste is there, and more oxygen is using. So in turns, it becomes less oxygen available for aquatic life. So Sabarmati River stage recorded a BOD of 292 mg per liter, marking it as severely polluted. Other polluted stretches fall into categories from priority to priority 1 to 5. Least polluted and worst polluted. So, what are the sources of pollution in Gujarat rivers? Many sources partially include untreated, partially treated sewage from urban areas. All the cities facing the same problem. Industrial effluents, industrial waste, dumping of solid waste, and agricultural runoff. Adequate water dilution worsen the population, rapid urbanization, industrial growth. So these are the reason of sources of pollution in Gujarat rivers. So government has taken the initiative and sanctioned pollution abatement scheme for Sabarmati, Tapi, and Mindhola rivers. Three rivers they have given the abatement scheme: Sabarmati, Tapi, and Mindhola rivers. And budget given is approximately 1,875.29 crore. So this project have created has a sewage treatment capacity of 697 million liters per day. So primary responsibility is to treat sewage and industrial waste before discharge. So there is a presence of long-term policies and suitable water managements which prevent further pollution and ensure sustainable water resources. This policy considered the impact of rapid urbanization and industrialization. Day by day, industries are increasing. So these efforts include improving operation and maintenance of treatment plants, strict enforcement of pollution control rules and regulation and promoting community participation in river conservation. So there should be strict enforcement of pollution control policies. Promoting community participation in river conservation is also essential. So reduction in polluted river stages. So it indicates progress in population control measure in Gujarat decrease from 20 to 30. So, however, the severity of population in certain stages, especially the Sabarmati, remains a urgent concern requiring continuous monitoring and action. Next news is about Mithun conservation. Mithun Bos frontalis, a semi-domesticated bovine native to northeast India, has gained renewed attention in 2025. Images given about Mithun. So, scientists and tribal farmers have jointly urged the central government to include Mithun under key livestock development schemes such as National Livestock Missions. So all the scientists and even though tribal farmers have jointly urged have jointly noted that the central government must include Mithun under key livestock development schemes such as National Livestock Mission. So it aims to boost sustainable farming, improve sustainable farming, conserving this species, and improving tribal livelihoods in the region as well. About what are the ecological and cultural significance of Mithun? Mithun is native to the eastern Himalayan region. Mithun name is Bos frontalis and is deeply embedded in socio-cultural life of tribal communities of eastern Himalayan region in Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, and parts of Assam. So Mithun is a state animal of Arunachal Pradesh. Mithun is state animal of Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland. Beside its cultural importance, Mithun provides high quality meat and milk. So in turn, it provides food security in remote hill areas. It gives different types of food, meat and milk security in remote hill areas. About population distribution, India hosts about 3.9 lakh Mithun, which is 95, which is state animal of Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland. It is 95% of the global population. Arunachal Pradesh alone accounts for 91% of this Mithun. So despite its limited range, the species is important for the economy and ecology of Northeast. However, the population is day by day decreasing due to habitat loss, unscientific farming, and indiscriminate slaughters. Next news about India United Nations Global Capacity Building Initiative. India recently launched the first 4 projects under the Indian United Nations Global Capacity Building Initiative. So India recently launched first 4 projects with the collaboration of India United Nations Global Capacity Building Initiative to help global South countries to achieve sustainable development goals. So this initiative builds on India's expertise in capacity building and also strengthening South-South cooperation. So this initiative was announced in September 2023 during the 78th United Nations General Assembly, and it extends India's development partnership efforts. The MIA leads the program in collaboration with several United Nations agencies. About Indian core framework and Indian technical and economic cooperation underpin the initiative. Indian technical and economic cooperation offers over 12,000 training slots. It provides over 12,000 training slots annually to nearly 160 countries. So Indian Technical and Economic Corporation provides over 12,000 training slots every year to nearly 160 countries, and more than 2,25,000 professionals have been trained through this over 400 specialized courses. So under the new initiative, United Nations Agency identified sustainable development focus project with host governments. So training is delivered through Indian Institute linked to ITEC. First phase project, the initial four projects covered diverse sectors and countries. In Nepal, the World Food Program supports the first in the Nepal. In Nepal, the World Food Programs in Nepal it support rice fortification and supply chain management. In Zambia and Laos, PDA received digital health platform development assistant from United Nations Development Programs. Census preparedness training is also planned for countries like Belgium, Barbados, Esquites, Nevis, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago in partnership with United Nations Population Fund. UNESCO supports vocational training in South Southern Sudan. UNESCO supports vocational skill training in South Sudan. So about implementation and timeline. So this project will start in September 2025 and it will be conducted by designated Indian Training Institute under the ITEC frameworks. It will build human resource capacity in partner countries, focuses on practical skill development, which is aligned with sustainable development goal priorities. So there is a significance for South and South cooperation. It marks India's role in global development cooperation to support developing nation. The collaboration with United Nations agencies ensure alignment with sustainable development, global development goals, and it also strengthens diplomatic ties and it also help in promoting sustainable progress in partner countries. Next is about Matri Van initiatives started in launch in Gurugram, a step towards ecological preservation and urban sustainability. So this urban forest project, which is part of the government of India's Ek Ped Ek Naam program, Ek Ped Ma Ke Naam. What is the government initiative program name? Ek Ped Ma Ke Naam program. So it is a part of government in this policy. It aims to create a green legacy by involving communities and multiple stakeholders. So it is spread over 750 acres in the Aravalli Hills. It promises to improve biodiversity and public health, public well-being in Delhi NCR region. So the Matriven initiative was inaugurated by Union Minister Bhupender Yadav and Manohar Lal during Van Mahotsav 2025. The Haryana Forest Department organized this event with support from the state government, official and public representatives. There is a joint effort between government bodies, NGOs, corporate partners, resident welfare associates, and citizens, including school children also. So a project about project vision and ecological importance. So main theme Matri Van main theme is urban forest, theme based urban forest inspired by nurturing qualities of mother nature. Protect mother nature. It aims to restore Aravalli ecosystem by planting native tree species. Ek ped maa ke naam. So the forest will act as we know, the forest is act as a heart and lung. It provides oxygen to us. So the forest will act as a heart and lung of Delhi NCR for all. So it improves air quality and provide a serene environment, peaceful environment, useful environment for health and leisure. So it provides its help in reducing carbon emission and promoting renewable energy with the help of Matri Van. So the project focuses on removing invasive species like Kabuli kicker and replacing them with native trees such as bargad, peepal, neem, dhak, specific species name is dhok and kaheri. So it aims to remove the invasive species like Kabuli kicker. Now, forest will feature themed groves, including Bodhi Vatika, bamboo setan, medicinal plant Vatika, butterfly garden, and others. So, these tree plantation will be take place to improve the air quality and to take care of the biodiversity, preserve local flora and fauna, plant and animals. So there is a community participation and facilities, CSR initiative, NGOs, RWAs. Public facilities will include nature trails, cycle tracks, yoga spaces, gazebos, and water bodies to conserve water and prevent urban flooding. Irrigation will use treated water with misting and sprinkling system to maintain greenery efficiently. So there is alignment with a national mission, Prime Minister Mission Life Lifestyle for this initiative aligned with Prime Minister Mission Life Lifestyle for Environment to save food, save water, save energy, manage waste, ban single-use plastic, in turn promote healthy lifestyles, which help in increasing India's renewable energy share currently over 50% and definitely reduce carbon emission, carbon footprints in urban areas. So Gurugram is said to become a model ideal millennium city through this green initiative. So in turn, it enhance biodiversity and mitigate reduce pollution. So it is going to expire other state also. Next news is about Apna Ghar initiative. The government of India launched the Apna Ghar initiative to improve the safety and well-being of truck drivers during long journeys. So this Apna Ghar initiative is for truck well-being of truck drivers during their long journeys. This program provides hygienic and comfortable resting spaces to truck drivers during their long journeys. As of July 1st, 2025, 368 units with over 4,600 beds have been established by public sector oil marketing companies at fuel stations nationwide, which is important to support truck drivers who are vital to India's supply chain in all aspects. So, about background and purpose, truck drivers often face poor rest condition during long journeys, lack of proper rest, which impacts their health and also road safety. Sometimes accident may be also because of the truck drivers are continuously driving. So the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas introduced Apna Ghar initiative to address these issues, to take care of the road safety and to take care of the health of truck drivers. So it focuses on providing safe, clean, accessible rest areas for drivers across national highways, state highways. So it provides dormitory style accommodation with 4,611 beds, clean toilets, dedicated bathing areas, purified drinking waters. Drivers can use restaurants on dhabas on site. Some locations provide self-cooking space for great convenience. So public sector OMC manage the Apna Ghar unit at retail fuel outlets. So it has rapidly expanded to 368 unit by mid 2025. So it support truck drivers throughout their routes and improving rest option across the country. So there is a technology integration in user response. The number of downloads and user registration continue to grow. A dedicated mobile application support this initiative. Feedback marks satisfaction with the comfort and convenience provided. They will provide the feedback in this dedicated mobile application. And this digital tool definitely enhance accessibility and user experience. So the launch of Apna Ghar reflects the government commitment to the trucking workforce, which is critical role of truckers in maintaining India's supply chain. Next is about alpine musk deer conservation. The conservation of alpine musk deer in India faces changes. Musk deer name is a Moschus, scientific name is Moschus Chrysogaster, Moscas chrysogaster, alpine musk deer. Due to they are facing challenges due to misidentification and different types of management issues. So it is the report given by Central Geo Authority in December 2024 revealed that many Jews have confused with this species identification with the Himalayan musk deer. They confuse identification of alpine musk deer species with the confusing this species with the Himalayan musk deer. Himalayan musk deer scientific name is Moschus leucogaster. Moschus leucogaster means species is different. Leucogaster. Space genus is same. Moschus. The confusion has hampered breeding programs, disturbed breeding programs aimed at protecting the endangered alpine musk deer, which is native to the central and eastern Himalayas. They are found in central and eastern Himalayas. So the alpine musk deer and Himalayan musk deer share overlapping habitats. This sympatric distribution has caused Jews to mistaken breed Himalayan musk deer instead of alpine musk deer. There is a confusion. So the CGA reports marks that musk deer breeding center near Chopta in Uttarakhand and the Padmaja Naidu Himalayan Zoological Park in Darjeeling likely housed alpine musk deer. So alpine musk deer found in musk deer breeding center near Chopta in Uttarakhand and Padmaja Naidu Himalayan Zoological Park in Darjeeling, in Uttarakhand and Darjeeling. But they did not initiate a specific breeding program for them. So consequently, captive population of alpine musk deer in India proper population of this alpine musk deer in India remain till now unclear. So population status is in the 1980s about 1,000. Current numbers are unknown due to lack of recent surveys, and Indian IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, classified this species as critically endangered in 2014. So the absence of captive breeding success worsened the species survival outlook. So CGA established in 1992 under the Wildlife Protection Act oversees captive breeding of all different types of endangered species in India. So it aims to improve regulatory oversight and conservation outcomes. There is a financial allocation and transparency to between 2006 and 2021, government allocated nearly 29 crore to Jews for breeding programs. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change stated that financial management is mainly a state responsibility. So there is a lack of transparency, complicate assessment of program to assess this program effectively. About future direction, it also marks the need for India to develop its own threatened species list. India must develop their own endangered species list, threatened species list as a global IUCN red list. Red list is, what is a red list? IUCN, when the space where there is a list of endangered species. So India must develop their own threatened species list, endangered species list as the global IUCN red list does not reflect country-specific realities. IUCN red list does not include the country-specific realities, country-specific endangered species. So there is a need to strengthen scientific management. Clear identification of all species are critical for successful conservation. Next news about Operational Muskan 11 was conducted across Telangana. It focused on rescuing children, to rescue children from exploitation and different types of hazardous condition. This mission involved extensive coordination between police, government departments, and NGOs. There must be extensive collaboration between police, government departments, and NGOs to protect to rescue children from exploitation and hazardous condition. The main area targeted vulnerable location like railway station, construction sites, religious places. So thousands of children were rescued during a month-long drive. A total of 7,678 children were rescued. Among them, 7,149 were boys and 529 girls. It's a really shocking. Boys are more. So more than half, 3,787 children came from outside Telangana, covering 12 states. Additionally, 3,783 children were from Nepal. So this operation covered urban and rural areas, focusing on high risk zone, and these high risk zones such as brick cleans, mechanic shops, and bus station. So nature of exploitation identified the different types of natures of exploitation in voids. Many children were engaged in child labors, approximately 6,000 children. Other categories including 357 street children, means they are beggars, and many in bonded labors. And many children, approximately 559 children, are found in various hazardous or exploitative roles. So the condition of these children sadely suffering in their health, education, and over safety and over health being, social being. So there is a must be a legal and administrative action. The operation led to 1,713 first information reports being filed. A total of 1,718 individuals were arrested for violation. So the Labor Department submitted 1,613 inspection reports. Penalty totals 47.76 lakh were imposed under the Minimum Wages Act and the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act, whosoever is prohibiting this act. So these main aim to deter employers from exploiting children. There must be rehabilitation and education efforts. These rescue children were reunited with their families. The government is trying. Another were admitted to child care homes, approximately 1,000 for protection and counseling. Significantly, approximately 2,000 migrant children were enrolled in 29 urban bridge school across Telangana. So these are important step help in supporting these children in providing educational opportunities and providing a path towards social reintegration. Most important role is a role of a state is Hyderabad's role in the operation. In Hyderabad alone, 1,000, approximately 1,000 children were rescued. Out of this 1,247 children were rescued. Of these 1,173 were boys and 74 girls. So the city police registered 55 FIRs and booked 939 cases under the Minimum Wages Act, and there is a fine also. So the success of Operation Muskan 11 was due to strong collaboration. Police work closely with the women and child welfare developments. Labor and Health Department, child welfare communities, district child protection units, and NGOs. So, pre operation meetings and video conferences help streamline efforts and share information effectively. Next news is about India's wind energy growth and wildlife challenges. India's wind energy sector saw rapid growth in early 2025, adding 3.5 gigawatts of capacity. So, rapid growth in India's wind energy sector. It was an 82% increase from the previous year. The total installed capacity to 51.3 gigawatt. Despite this rapid growth, rapid progress, wind energy remains far below its potential. The National Institute of Wind Energy estimates India's gross wind power potential at 11,163 gigawatt and 150 meters above ground. So there is an impact on bird population near wind farms has become a key concern for experts and policymakers. However, there is a challenges such as the land availability, transmission delays, and environmental impacts persists. Wind energy expansion in India. Wind energy forms part of this strategy, which is the renewable form of energy. To meet these climatic goals and rising power demands, India is aggressively increasing in its renewable energy resources. So the government has urged states to expedite land acquisition and improve grid infrastructures to increase expedite land acquisition, improve grid infrastructures. So offshore wind energy is gaining attention. Recently, offshore wind bids were launched in Gujarat and Tamil Nadu, aiming to utilize India's vast coastline and exclusive economic zones. So bird mortality at wind farms, there is a bird mortality, bird death at wind farms, especially in the Thar Desert region. It includes critically endangered species like the great Indian bustard. So raptors are particularly vulnerable also due to their flight patterns and raptors having the low reproductive rate. So they are also becoming endangered. So the Thar Desert lies on the Central Asian flyway. Are a major migratory routes are becoming the some species mortality rates are in this area is more. So seasonal variation and geography affect also the death rate of birds. Earlier studies in Kutch and Davangere reported lower blood deaths, denoting regional differences. So raptors face population risk from additional mortality due to their slow breeding cycle, due to their slow reproducing rates. So the Avanian sensitivity tool for energy planning helps identify sensitive areas to avoid. BirdLife International recommends painting turbine blades for visibility and searching turbines during high-risk periods. Site selection is also essential to reduce this harm. So India does not mandate environment. However, India does not mandate environment impact assessment for onshore wind projects, which is raising concern about wildlife safety. Next is about IPPB launches Aadhaar-based face authentication nationwide. India Post Payment Bank has introduced Aadhaar-based face authentication for customer transaction across India. So it is a major improvement for India Post Payment Bank, which has introduced Aadhaar-based face authentication. So this new feature allows user to verify their identity using, instead of thumb, they can use it uses facial recognition. So it aims to make banking more inclusive, especially for the elderly and differently abled who face difficulties with fingerprint or OTP verification. It is mostly beneficial for elder people, differently able people. So it provide accessible and secure banking services to early citizen and differently able people. So India Post Payment Bank was launched in 2018 under the Department of Post, Ministry of Communication. It is fully owned by the Government of India. It offer affordable and trusted banking to the common man. It is mostly um, beneficial in rural areas to reach an unbanked and underbanked population. So this bank operates on the principle of Indian stack, enabling paperless, cashless, and presence-less banking. So what are the features of Aadhaar-based face authentication? So the Aadhaar-based face authentication system uses UDI's Aadhaar frameworks, which help customers to complete transaction without fingerprints or OTPs. Aadhaar authentication based on total, they will do with the face authentication. This technology is contactless, fast, reducing physical interaction during banking. There is no need of physical interaction presence. So it is specifically beneficial during health emergency when contactless services are preferred. So it open as it can use it for account opening, balance inquiry also, fund transfer also, and utility payments. So customer can use for all these purposes. So there is a many benefits for financial inclusion. It promotes dignity and ease in banking for differently able and elderly customer. It is mostly beneficial for elder people and differently able person. It ensured no one is left behind in accessing financial services. So it provides equitable accessibility to all person. So it supports government mission like Digital India and financial inclusion. So IPPB combines technology and fast physical network to serve approximately 11 crore customers in over 5.5 lakh villages and towns. It offers services in 30 languages. So this offers services in 30 languages, which is help in making user-friendly banking services. It aims to empower citizens financially. It support a less cash economy. So it is a step towards simplifying banking while maintaining security and inclusivity. Next is about red panda conservation. So the recent birth of red panda cubs at the Himalayan Zoological Park near Gangtok marks an achievement. After 7 years without successful births, this event revises hope for the endangered species conservation in the region. So red panda conservation is a big issue at the Himalayan Zoological Park near Gangtok. So, Red Panda Conservation Program began in 1997. It faced severe setbacks due to two canine distemper outbreaks, which nearly wiped out the captive population. Red Panda biology and adaptation. Red Panda Alurus fulgens scientific name has a distinct ruddy coat that camouflages them in fig tree canopies. They have robust dentition and pseudo thumb to grasp bamboo. Bamboo is the main food source of red panda. About taxonomy and species variation, genetic studies identify two species. Two species are one is fulgens and Alurus fulgens satyani. So red pandas are ancient carnivores which eats both carnivores, flesh, closely related to skunks, raccoons, and weasels. So about the habitat and distribution, it present in temperate forest with bamboo understories across the Himalayas, including parts of India, Nepal, Bhutan, China, Myanmar, and Tibet. Often in dense cool forest. Diet and feeding habits, they prefer leaf tips and tender shoots. Occasionally, they eat fruits, insects, and small animals. They prefer leaf tips and tender shoots. About behavior and reproduction, red pandas are solitary except during breeding season, which vary by hemisphere. They communicate through subtle vocalization and scent markings. Female give birth to litters of typically two cubs after a gestation period is about 5 months. Next is about silver-backed chevrotain. Silver-backed chevrotain was rediscovered in Vietnam after nearly 30 years without confirmed sightings. This tiny elusive mammal, silver-backed chevrotain, is tiny elusive mammal was captured on camera traps in Great Annamites ecoregion, signaling a vital breakthrough in efforts to protect endangered species like silver-backed chevrotain. This finding marks the importance of combining modern technology with local knowledge to safeguard biodiversity. The silver-backed chevrotain, also known as two-tone mouse deer. Silver-backed chevrotain, also known as two-tone mouse deer, was presumed lost to science for it was presumed lost to science for 3 decades. So this discovery renews hope for many species thought extinct. This species is extinct. It puts stress on the value of persistent conservation because of this rediscovery. And its unexpected photographic evidence came from camera traps set in the southern Vietnamese lowland forest. The camera traps, which was set in the southern Vietnam lowland forest. So this rediscovery about the silver-beaked chaproten, which is known as two-tone mouse deer. So this two-tone mouse deer, silverback chaproten, is a small hoofed mammal about the size of a rabbit. It present in dense forest in the greater Anamities, a biodiversity hotspot spanning Vietnam and Laos. Its secretive nature and remote habitat contributed to its long absence from scientific records. So it is threats to survival. The main threats is to the chebotian include predation by wild animals, eaten by wild animals like leopards and wild dogs. However, the greatest danger is human hunting. Human hunt this animal, especially through snares. So conservation efforts now focus on reducing snaring to protect the chevrotain and other vulnerable endangered animals. So survey methods and findings, they deployed camera traps over several months, capturing hundreds of photos and multiple independent sightings. So this method confirmed the species presence and provide data to guide further protection measures. So there is a role of local communities also. So this collaborative approach is important for future efforts to find and protect lost or endangered species worldwide. So the rediscovery of this species emphasizes that species thought extinct may survive in unexplored or inaccessible habitats. So it marks a need for urgent conservation action, habitat protection, and anti-poaching measures, which definitely benefits entire ecosystem, help in preserving biodiversity. Next news about SGPC urges policy against AI misinformation on Gurbani. So recent concerns have emerged over the spread of misinformation related to Sikkim through artificial intelligence platform. The Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhan Committee has called on the Indian Union government to establish a clear policy, to make a clear policy to prevent such distortion. The SGPC Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhan Committee reached out to major artificial intelligence companies requesting immediate corrective action to protect the purity of Sikh religion teachings. So the SGPC has raised alarms about artificial intelligence generated content that misrepresent Gurbani, Sikh history and Gurmat. They are misrepresenting Gurbani, Sikh history and Gurmat. Distorted, disturbed verses and altered images are deflecting, which have caused deep hurt among all Sikh peoples worldwide. The committee emphasizes that Guru Granth Sahib is the supreme religious scriptures and must not be tampered with it. So these inaccuracy are viewed not just as misinformation but as act of sacrilege, act of saving these religious scriptures, to save these religious scriptures. So SGPC established in 1920 during the Gurudwara reform movement. The SGPC manages major Sikh shrines, including the Golden Temple in Amritsar. It functions under the Sikh Gurudwara Act 1925. The committee acts as a guardian of Sikh tradition, overseeing religious education and cultural activities of among Sikh peoples. It publishes religious texts and organizes events to promote teachings among all peoples across the world. SGPC Action and Appeals have formally SGPC have formally contacted artificial intelligence platform including ChatGPT, Google, Meta, and others. It has demanded the removal of incorrect content and measure to prevent future dissemination. It has also flagged issues with certain mobile applications that present Gurbani and they are presenting it inaccurately, wrongly. SGPC President Harjinder Singh Dhami has appealed to the Sikh community to rely only on verified sources and authentic text. So there is a concern over digital influence, which has increased the risk of misleading portrayals of Sikh figures, symbols, and scriptures. So younger generation who often learn about their heritage with the help of online media, it may be exposed to incomplete or false narratives. So it is threatening the spiritual integrity and cultural identity of Sikhism. So the SGPC has urged the Union Home Ministry, led by Amit Shah, to take formal action cognizance of this issue. It seeks a national policy to regulate artificial intelligence content related to religion. The committee stresses that coordinated action is required to preserve the purity of Sikhism in the digital age, in the digital media. Next news about BIMSTEC Traditional Music Festival. The first ever BIMSTEC Traditional Music Festival was held recently. The event showcased the musical heritage of 7 BIMSTEC member countries. It was inaugurated by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, and this festival symbolizes regional unity and cultural cooperation, which is organized by Indian Council for Cultural Relation, and it featured artists from India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. So these artists, the artists are from India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Thailand are participated. So this festival marked important step in cultural diplomacy within the Bay of Bengal region also. So this festival was first announced by Prime Minister Modi at the BIMSTEC summit in Thailand in April, which was held in Thailand in April 2025. So it emphasized the importance of cultural ties in strengthening regional cooperation, help in strengthening regional cooperation with the help of cultural ties. India took the lead. India took the lead. It is important thing that India took the lead in hosting this inaugural event to promote people to people connection with the help of this cultural ties in strengthening regional cooperation. So this festival represents the use of soft power to improve diplomatic relation among BIMSTEC nation. The Indian Council for Cultural Relation organized the festival Bharat Mandapam in India, New Delhi. So the Indian Council for Cultural Relation organized the festival Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. The venue provided a platform for showcasing. It was happened in New Delhi. The venue provided a platform for showcasing different types of musical tradition, and this event was free and open to any public, which helped in encouraging inclusive participation, which happened in New Delhi. A artist from all 7 BIMSTEC countries performed. Each nation presented its unique musical styles, instruments. It showcases rich diversity and shared heritage of the region. The theme of this festival is Sapta Sur, 7 nation, one melody, 7 nation, one melody. So it reflected the spirit of unity in diversity. So the festival strengthened cultural diplomacy within the BIMSTEC 7 countries. It encouraged mutual understanding and respect among member states, which in it these also promote peace and collaboration beyond economic and political domain also. So it also help for future engagement in all regions, collaboration in cultural engagements. So this festival was accessible to all section of society. Seating was arranged on first come first serve basis. The event's timing and open entry policy helped maximize outreach about the public engagement and accessibility. Next is about Odisha launches SOP for landrake seed conservation. Odisha introduced a standard operating procedures to conserve traditional seed varieties, which is called land races. So India introduces a standard operating procedures, and this procedure to protect, to preserve, to conserve traditional seed varieties, and then traditional seed varieties are called land races. So it aims to protect agro diversity and empower smallholders farmers by integrating these seeds into formal system. So it is empowering smallholder farmers, protecting biodiversity, and helping integrating these traditional seed varieties into formal system. So the standard operating procedures under the Sri Anna Abhiyan, what is the name of that Abhiyan is Sri Anna Abhiyan. It prioritizes farmers' knowledge and community management over industrial seed dominance. About land races are traditional crop varieties which is developed and over generation through natural adaptation and farmer selection. So it is developed through natural adaptation and farmer selection. They are genetically diverse and suited to local communities and soil. So unlike uniform high yielding varieties, land races offer resilience to pest. They suffer climate stress, and they require fewer external inputs. So land races are important for suitable agricultural and nutrition. So there are some challenges from modern agriculture. The Green Revolution promoted high-yielding varieties and standardized seeds. This caused genetic erosion and loss of many land races, loss of many traditional seed varieties. Odisha, like much of India, experiences a decline in traditional seed variety, reduction in traditional seed variety, and this issue is faced by Odisha. The shift towards uniform cropping, if there is a uniform cropping, it definitely reduce on-farm genetic variety and weaken community seed systems. So this shift towards uniform cropping reduce on-farm genetic variety and weaken community seed system. So what are the key components of SOP? It outlines a detailed plan to identify, conserve, and scale traditional seed through community participation and science. It includes survey to take survey of agrobiodiversity hotspots, make documents of land races valued for taste, yield stability, pest resistance, and nutrition, create crop diversity blocks at sub-district level to conserve and multiply seeds, establish community seed centers managed by farmers groups and women self-help groups. Its registering will be done land races digitally, registry done digitally with data on based on morphology, location, and traditional uses. So conducting participatory varietal selection with multi-location trials and farmer-led demonstration. Community rights and legal protection is also there. Original local names of land races are retained in official records to acknowledge farmers' contribution. And there is also legal protection which will be facilitated under the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Act PPVFRA. Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Act. Current progress and future outlook. Odisha has mapped and conserved 163 traditional varieties of seed under the Abhiyan Sri Anna Abhiyan. Of these, 14 land races are farmer preferred and 103 are undergoing nutrition profiling. The SOP aligns with Odisha's recognition as a globally important agricultural heritage system by the FAO, particularly in Koraput region. Next news about India-Brazil Biofuel Alliance. India-Brazil Biofuel Alliance. The India-Brazil partnership on biofuels is gaining momentum amid rising global trade tension and shifting energy geopolitics. So India-Brazil partnership and that partnership on biofuel is gaining momentum amid in between rising global trade tension. Global trade tension is increasing and shifting energy geopolitics. While the India-United States trade relationship faces strain due to strained due to tariffs and disagreements. India and Brazil are deepening cooperation through the Global Biofuels Alliance. It focuses on sustainable biofuel adoption and energy security, positioning itself as a key player in the global low carbon transition. So recently, the United States imposed a 25% tariff on Indian imports. This move is stalled bilateral trade talks aimed at expanding trade to USD 500 billion by 2030. So key Indian exports sectors such as textile, pharmaceutical, electronics face vulnerability in the United States market. So key Indian exports which are facing problem in the United States market are textile, pharmaceutical and electronics. Because recently the United States imposed a 25% tariff on Indian imports. So despite this, India continues its strategic cooperation with Brazil and United States within the GBA framework, which is balancing trade conflicts with clean energy collaboration, trying to balance trade dispute with clean energy collaboration. About biofuels, as you know, biofuels, bio means animal waste, material, plant material based. So biofuels are fuels which derived from plant materials or animal waste. So they reduce with the help of biofuels because it is a biofuels. So it definitely reduces greenhouse emission, mostly the carbon dioxide emission, and in turn lower fossil fuel dependence, coal, petroleum, natural gas dependence, and support rural economies. So biofuels are important for sectors where decarbonization is challenging, such as aviation and heavy transport. So aviation and heavy transport decarbonization is challenging. So these sectors are using biofuels. India and Brazil's collaboration, it reflects a broader geopolitical shift linking rural development with urban engagement, providing climate resilience. So the Global Biofuels Alliances and its strategic roles, it is launched during India's G20 presidency in 2023. The ZFBA promotes biofuels, mostly ethanol blending, sustainable aviation fuels, and flex fuel technologies. So it is Global Biofuels Alliance launched during India's G20 presidency, which happened in the year 2023. And the GBA promotes biofuels. So mostly the biofuels are ethanol blending, sustainable aviation fuels, and flex fuel technologies. So India aims for 20% ethanol blending by 2025. India is aiming. Brazil brings its mature biofuel ecosystem while the United States contributes technological expertise. So these alliance seeks to encourage sustainable biofuel production across the global south, which is definitely reinforcing energy security and climate goals amid protection trade trends. So about India and Brazil's biofuel policies, Brazil's Fuel of the Future law mandates increasing biodiesel blending from 14% in 2025 to 20% by 2030. So Brazil Fuel of the Future law, according to the Brazil Fuel of the Future law, it will increase biodiesel blending from 14%, which is 2025. It becomes 20% by 2030. So India target 10% ethanol blending in petrol as an interim goal alongside promoting compressed biogas and sustainable aviation fuels. Both countries have a strong regulatory frameworks and financial incentive to support these targets, signaling strong medium and long-term commitment to biofuels. So Indian and Brazilian researchers collaborate on sugarcane ethanol and second generation biofuels. So they are targeting on sugarcane ethanol and second generation biofuels There is a joint ventures, India and Brazil, which aim to build biorefineries in both countries. Brazilian energy giant Petrobras has committed $600 million to bioenergy projects. Indian companies, a name of that companies are ONGC Videsh and Bharat Petroleum, are investing in Brazil's bioenergy sectors. So in this, there is a strong cooperation between India and Brazil. This cooperation exemplifies South-South collaboration for mutual benefit and energy security. So this is a part one. There are some challenges in feedstock and sustainability. Brazil's relying on soybean oil for biodiesel raises environmental concern, especially regarding the Amazon and Cerrado region. India balances biofuel expansion with food security using feedstock, and these feedstocks from rice, straw, and maize. So how they are balancing? India balances biofuel expansion from use of feedstock like rice, straw, and maize. Political and environmental complexity around feedstock sourcing remain key challenges. So pricing fluctuation, there is a pricing fluctuation, regulatory issues. So it is also affecting the biofuel markets in both the countries. About future prospects and global implication, India-Brazil Biofuels Alliance offers an alternative to dominate clean energy models led by China and the United States. So it emphasizes development, equity, and pragmatic green industrialization. So the upcoming BRICS summit is expected to strengthen this India-Brazil partnership, especially in sustainable aviation fuels. So this collaboration could position the Global South as a leader in biofuel innovation and climate resilience. So this is about the 21 news. From 22 to 41 news, we will watch in second part. It is almost 1 hour video, so kindly watch the second part of weekly current affairs science and technology video. Keep consistent, revise all the topics, and watch the second part also. Current affair 200 news part third is also I'm going to upload within 2-3 days. So kindly watch. Best of luck for your all exams. Thank you for watching.